This is a special episode of At Your Service and CRM Audio recorded live at the Resco Next conference with Sean Tabor, Scott LaFonte, Gus Gonzalez, Ben Vollmer, and Roz, Mr. Dynamics 365 Saturday himself. This episode is sponsored by KingswaySoft. KingswaySoft is a leading integration solution provider offering software solutions that make data integration affordable and painlessly easy. Thousands of enterprise clients from over 70 countries and regions rely on KingswaySoft to integrate data with various business systems in order to drive their business efficiency and fully leverage their information assets. KingswaySoft is a leading provider of Microsoft Dynamics integration software, including Dynamics 365, CRM, AX, Nav, GPSL, as well as many other applications. We thank KingswaySoft for sponsoring CRM Audio, the Dynamics 365 podcast.
I agree, and it's the way that we're getting not only with the IoT devices, but now we're getting to where we're using the IoT devices with the edge computing. That's going to open up a lot of doors in terms of performance and make the IoT devices even smaller because they have to do less. You know, they can have the onboard chips that take care of some of the processing. And that connection to the Azure Gateway, for example, is more effective and faster. So it's exciting what's happening with IoT. But in general, this is my first Resco conference. I'm finding that it's really cool to see a mixture of customers, both prospective and existing, as well as partners in these sessions.
And prospective partners.
And prospective partners, as we are, apparently. But seeing that mix, and there's a lot of good conversation. We had our session today about tips and tricks, and there was a lot of good conversation, good questions, a lot of questions on how to get more out of the Resco Mobile client, which is interesting, as opposed to what I'm used to hearing a lot of times when we talk about tips and tricks on something is, why doesn't it do this?
Yeah.
It was more like, I know it does this, but I don't know how to do it. So.
Yeah, not only that, but how open, I appreciated how open some of the guys were about challenges they're facing, right? They came and said, I implemented it, I think I did a good job, I spent some time designing this thing and planning for it and all of that, but they just don't want to use it. How do you guys get over that? And the fact that on our panel, at least, we had a customer that went through the same challenges, and they went through a company acquisition, that they came with all kinds of other technology and how they dealt with that. I feel that the value that we normally see at like CRM UG Summit and CRM user group meetings was present here. We have, all these people going through the same challenges, implementing mobility. So it was really cool to see.
Yeah, and to add to that, right, so Resco's been around for a while, and the technology is continuing to evolve, and along with all the other Microsoft technology. So if you look at Dynamics and Field Service and now Project Service, Universal Resource Scheduling, it's hard to keep up. From a partner perspective, we can keep up. We need to keep up. But from a customer perspective, and they have their own internal team that does the development, it's hard to keep up with that pace of technology. So there's a lot of times they think, like you said, they think they've done a good job, but they're missed the mark on something, and now user adoption suffers. And how do you get over that? How do you combat that? So I think this conference alone kind of tackles some of that and helps some of either the smaller partners or customers realize that they're not alone. We're not, yes, we might be experts, but we don't know everything about everything. So I think it gives them some hope and some sense of direction as to, one, where the industry is going, where the technology is going, and that there are organizations out there to help them get to where they're going.
Yeah, and the other thing I mentioned on our panel discussion was somebody asked, what if my users don't want to use it? And my answer wasn't about the technology itself. It was about, I think that if your users don't want to use the solution, then your solution doesn't work. You have to rethink that. So in some cases, I think people that came here are thinking that this is a technology thing, that they're coming to talk about how can I make the technology work better for my users, whereas I feel that in some cases it's about the solution they implemented with the technology. I think that regardless of the technology they're using, whether they were using Resco or the out-of-the-box Microsoft. I mean, you have to create a solution that provides enough value that there's no question that your users are going to jump on it and use it.
And I liked the fact that we saw so much support from Microsoft for the Resco mobile, continuing the support. You know, you hear things all the time about, the Dynamics 365 app is going to be the app or whatever. But seeing that dedicated support, seeing that commitment from Microsoft that they're working with Resco to make things even better, that's fantastic. I mean, if we can get even a better mobile experience than we have right now with field service, I think that's going to be fantastic. So, what else did you see at the conference?
Well, I saw that they brought whiskey to encourage attendance, so that's a good trick right there that we can learn from the Europeans. No, I mean, I just saw a lot of people just looking to get the most out of their mobile application, and I thought it was interesting when we talked about how many CRM partners are here, and it was just like 10 hands raised on a crowd of 40 people or whatever. I thought that was cool. I mean, I think that they were able to get a whole lot of customers here, and I was impressed. I figured it was going to be just a bunch of partners trying to learn Resco even better so they can implement it and do a good job implementing it for their customers, but I was wrong. There's mostly customers here trying to get the most value out of it.
Yeah, and we got a lot of questions from customers during our session earlier, not just the panel, but yes, there was questions from partners, but most of them were customers trying to understand how they can better augment their existing implementation. Right? And that's the big thing. So they can have a partner like Hitachi come in and do the initial implementation, but when they want to do some tweaks going forward, 9 times out of 10, if it's something small, they're not calling us back. Yeah. They're going to have a team that does it. So to have the questions and the caliber of questions that we received today really shows where customers, in terms of their knowledge base, has grown, I think, over the years. Because 10 years ago, you didn't have that. Right.
And it was a good thing. We did have a couple customers that asked a lot of questions. And in one in particular, it was a good thing that we were on our game and happy faces, with questions, because it turns out that he was one of our customers. And I didn't know that. So I found out later. Like, whoa.
Maybe you'll move from prospective partner to actual partner after this.
That's my hope. That's my hope. That's my hope and goal. But yeah. So are you going to be here for tomorrow?
I don't know yet. I saw there's a bunch of sessions in there. I'm still thinking about it. I mean, the good news is that I live here, so it's easy for me to come and stop by. So I'm going to try my best.
So it's the party at Gus's house tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So we unfortunately fly back to Tampa in the morning, so we're not going to be here for tomorrow. But hopefully there's some good sessions. I mean, I know there's a session with Ben and I think Yvonne tomorrow. Yeah, I think. So there are a lot more good sessions. So if you haven't registered yet, you still have time to get in here tomorrow to the Resco.Next conference.
Was it free registration for this conference? I don't know, because I feel like somebody asked me, they said, hey, we're coming to Atlanta, and I'm coming to Atlanta, can we do dinner or whatever? And I'm like, oh, that's right, that Resco conference is tomorrow. So I said, let me just reach out and see if I can stop by. And they say, yeah, just come here and join the panel. So I ended up coming and being part of the panel. By the way, let me just say this. Ben, you dodged my question big time on your session. I mean, it was a good question.
No,
I don't remember what it was. Do you remember what the question was?
I don't, but it wasn't a good question, Gus. I would have answered it.
Well, I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, yeah, no, I asked you because you were showing the list of alerts, and they showed a hierarchical relationship. Yes. And you gave me this explanation like they're related somehow, which is total smoke and mirrors.
Actually, it's not smoke and mirrors. I explained it about 3 minutes before you actually asked the question again. So the reason I got frustrated was you actually weren't listening the first time. I know, but so yeah, all the IoT alerts, the timer and stream analytics, where you can say, for alerts received in 5 minutes, make them hierarchical. So basically related back to the previous alert. So it is not smoke and mirrors. There actually is a way to build a hierarchy of alerts, so you can see all the alerts coming together in one place in Dynamics 365.
Interesting. Maybe I just didn't see the whole value. All right, cool.
So, since you're standing here, Mr. Palmer, get over here. hike their pants up and get over it. From a Microsoft perspective, what is the investment in the Resco Next conference, and where do you see it going in the future? Do you see it growing bigger? Do you see this? What do you think?
So if you look at the investment Microsoft's making this conference here today, in addition to having my beautiful smiling face here, there's actually over 25 Microsoft team members here from all different areas of our organizations. So you don't get 25 people Microsoft go anywhere,
right,
unless there's a good reason. And so we're really here to learn about the Resco mission, and how it helps benefit field service and other areas of dynamics. And so we're making a good investment in Resco by our team being here to help learn and grow, and also contribute back. I mean, I think we have 19 of the 25 here helping speak at different sessions, focus on things we know how to do.
So here's an interesting question, because I wasn't able to attend one of your sessions because unfortunately I got called into.
You didn't miss anything. So, okay.
So if I'm a customer and I'm interested in connected field service and Resco mobility, I mean, how would you recommend for a customer that wants to implement both and wants to give their technicians access to that data? What would be your recommendation to kind of dive in and get started in the IoT world and mobility?
So the cool thing is, by the way, in the existing Dynamics 365 field service mobile client, there actually already is device commands and device registration commands in the mobile client. So most people don't even know that they're there, but they're kind of in that top little sandwich button up there in the top right-hand corner on an asset. So we already have the connectivity between Dynamics 365 field service mobile and IoT Hub through Dynamics 365 already in place. I think the biggest thing about starting is really around figuring out what the business goals are and understanding where, one of the things we talked about today was kind of the maturity scale for as a service. So you kind of, as you move up the maturity scale, you can take on more and more. So if all you ever sell is a product, and you don't sell a product with a service, you don't sell a product with a fixed performance contract, or if all you sell is the product, you're kind of you're at the pre-crawling stage even. So I wouldn't go and say, let's go jump from pre-crawling all the way to running a marathon. And so there's kind of steps along the way. So deploying IoT, deploying mobility, deploying the core solution, all kind of are going to be driven on where you are in the maturity scale and where your business goals and objectives are and how to meet them.
We have another guest. This is a fun-filled, guest-filled, all-star episode of Service.
He came here to be a guest.
Yes, he did.
He came all the way from England just to be a guest on this episode. That's
right.
Pretty impressive.
That's right. And we're happy to have him, Mr. Dynamics 365 Saturday himself. It's Raz. Raz, how you doing?
Hi there, Sean. Thank you very much. Hi, Gus, Scott. It's a pleasure to meet you both.
I think best accent on the podcast so far.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, because I don't think we've had,
Chris Huntingford.
Yeah, would you say, do you know Chris Huntingford?
I know him very well,
Would
yes.
you know Kyle Hill?
I do, yes.
Is your accent better than theirs?
I've got to say, Kyle's very well spoken. They're both from South Africa, but they hold it down very well. So,
but you're from London, right?
From Manchester, actually. Manchester, yeah.
Okay, so now
Manchester United.
You got to open the door.
United, yeah.
Oh my God, Raz.
Is that football?
Yeah,
or
it is.
Hockey?
It's real football.
Yeah.
It's football.
Is it hockey or baseball?
Yeah, so if I was from Manchester City, I would speak more like this. You know what, mate? You know what I'm saying, mate? I'm speaking more like this, but because I'm from Manchester, I'm a bit more, Manchester United, we are a bit more different, I say.
So, note to my producer, who is a Man City fan, do not edit out Raz. I want him in the podcast. So let's talk about Dynamics 365 Saturday. It's quite a thing. I mean, it's a big deal. I had Chris and Kyle on to basically run down the events from the London event, and you just had your first U.S. event in Dallas. So talk about what it's all about and how it got to be.
Well, the origins are behind addressing why projects fail and to help the people involved in the projects to be aware of certain principles, certain best practices, so that they're not making recurring mistakes, really. And what we found is that, simple things like, for example, adding unit tests is something which we introduced to the community, And that alone has had a massive impact on the projects going on around the world. So first of all, it was promoting these open source collaborations, but then we wanted to also improve industry knowledge of what we're implementing, rather than just implementing a technology and providing deep dives on technology. What we wanted to do is say, okay, well, what are the best practices around CRM? What is CRM anyway? What is the strategy behind CRM? So this year, we've identified that field services definitely are one of the key areas where industries can gain a lot of value. And that's why we've tried to incorporate as much of it as possible, educate the Dynamics community about field service, understand the principles behind it, so that they can clearly see that the return on investment that is delivering to the customers today.
And how did you get Microsoft involved? Were they in on it initially, or was it something that had to grow?
Yeah, so it definitely had to grow. It began over 3 years ago, and it was before it was CRM Saturday. And then as it galvanized and it gained popularity, Microsoft got involved. They saw the value it provides to the community, and now it directly, in conjunction with the Microsoft Product team as well as the MVP team, basically we're now collaborating to deliver these events globally.
It's really cool. And are you finding, you had, like I said, you had your first event in Dallas. Yes. Are you, and from what I saw on social media, you had quite a turnout. Are you finding a difference in attendance from the UK side as opposed to what you've seen in Dallas so far?
So the demographics of Dynamics Saturday, you'll find that it's different to the regular user groups as such. Dynamics Saturday definitely appeals to more of the developer, more people who are technically involved. Those people who maybe can't take the day off during the week or whatever. Also what you find is that the people who deliver the sessions as well, they find it difficult to deliver it during the week. So on a Saturday, they're available to share their expertise. And so what you find, the demographics are slightly different to those that attend, a regular user group as such. And it's providing an avenue for them. The model for Dynamics Saturday isn't new. It's existed with SQL Saturday and SharePoint Saturday. So it's simply taking it to the Dynamics community.
That's awesome. And I'm looking forward to the time when we have a Dynamics Saturday in Tampa. That would be great, because that would be a quick drive for me. Most times we would have one of these kind of events here in Atlanta. This Southeast region, that's typically where we go. But, we got a lot of folks in Tampa too.
Well, I think the next one should be here in Atlanta. Simply because we have several MVPs around the area too. We have Joel in South Carolina, and Andre, and me, and Kurt. And there's Matt and Donna in North Carolina. I mean, there's just several that are sort of a driving distance from Atlanta, and there's a lot of customers here. I mean, I know that the user group has over 300 people. There's a lot of partners here too, and a lot of the big partners have offices in Atlanta. I think that if we appeal to the technical community, we should have a pretty good attendance. So I'm looking forward to trying to organize one for Atlanta. I know Microsoft will be all over that, and they have a big office here, so it should be pretty good.
So basically what you're saying is it's a competition to see who can organize the first one, whether it's in Tampa or in Atlanta. That's basically what you're saying?
No, I wouldn't compete. I think that you and Chris can put something together in Tampa really quickly. But definitely we need to look into doing the one in Atlanta. Next week I'll be at Extreme, and Ulrich will be there, who was a speaker at the Dallas event. So I'm looking forward to picking his brain and seeing what he liked, what he didn't like about it, and try to start organizing something. I want to do a good job, I guess, when we put it together. I want to have really good attendance. That's one thing that we struggle a little bit with when it comes to the user side.
Sure.
People trying to take the half day off or whatever it is for it, and I think that Saturday will be a good difference, and hopefully we'll get a bunch of people here.
I'm okay if you go to that. But something that I've always wanted to do, wanted to throw this out to you as a concept. You're familiar with Day of Code?
Day of Code.
Day of Code.
Day of Code. So what we have in the UK and Europe is something called Code Camp. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's similar.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm one of the things that I'm pretty passionate about is STEM, right? And that's mainly because my wife's a teacher, my daughter's about to be a teacher. So finding a way to, especially for those kids that are in a lower socioeconomic situation, finding a way to engage them in some kind of event like that. I haven't really found a great way to do that myself. But if you have a code camp, have you thought about doing something like that over here?
Basically, the communities are led by the local community. So this is really something for the US. Now that it's happened once, you can go and go with it now. But for example, I know that Julie Yak also runs a code camp, and then linked with a kind of dynamics, event as well. So she is incorporating code camps. In the UK, we tried to incorporate the code camp as a day before. What we found is that people were more interested in listening, like a hackathon. So we did actually try to incorporate a hackathon, but it ended up becoming a workshop, like a boot camp style, because we found people more interested in just learning rather than trying to actually build a solution. The initial concept for Dynamic Saturday was actually a hackathon concept of building your own solution within 24 hours. That was the concept behind it. However, what we're finding is that people are going there more to learn and get inspiration rather than anything else. But I definitely think you should try it maybe in the Tampa area, trying to incorporate a hackathon concept where you get people quick started with building solutions and dynamics and see how it goes really. And maybe leverage on voice of the customer to see how much people are actually interested in actually taking part in the hackathon as opposed to just attending the workshops as such.
So how much content at the CRM Saturday is dedicated? I guess in Europe there's like something starting in May. What's it called? The rules and regulation that's
GDPR.
Yeah, GDPR. How much content about GDPR are they including on CRM Saturdays?
So we do have we have included GDPR in CRM Saturday, in Dynamic Saturday. So that's been thoroughly addressed, and as you know, Mohammed, he's been there delivering many of those sessions. So we've definitely been addressing those and trying to obviously help provide a platform to help organisations prepare for this transition. So that's another area that needs to be addressed, the area of compliance. So we're trying to maybe address the issues that are affecting them, the most pressing issues affecting customers. So one of the areas that we believe are obviously DevOps, because that's a massive issue for deployments. We've got a best practice of customization, compliance, and GDPR is another area that needs to be addressed, as well as the technical issues. So there are many facets to the challenges that need to be addressed, and incorporating as much of it as possible is definitely a good idea. At the moment, like I said, it's been heavily focused on the technical content. However, we're realising that the compliance and strategy is definitely some areas that are probably more affected. And one of the conclusions that we've noticed from obviously my personal experience as well as everyone else's is that the biggest challenge facing any implementation is the strategic side, not the technological side. That's one of the biggest revelations that I've kind of felt after all these years of implementations. Definitely the strategic side of implementations, getting the organisations on board, having a clear strategy. Once the organisations have a clear strategy, then they can go about whether it's with incorporating more TFS in their project management, having continuous integration, better project management. These types of things are definitely the factors that are going to affect your success of your project more than the actual technology itself.
Right, and there's a lot of business decisions that have to be made in terms of what does GDPR really mean to my business. Give us a 2 minutes on a specific feature of field service that people should know about.
The substitute a resource function on the schedule board. So, for example, if Sean called in sick because he was beaten today for saying GDPR, we could swap him out for another equally skilled or more skilled resource like Scott.
Wow. Nailed it. Awesome. I'm getting beat up on my own podcast, and I don't know if I'm liking it. But we have Woodford in the next room to take some of the sting off. But, yeah.
I mean, Raz you brought up a good part. And the one thing I hear a lot from customers in the past is software is not working. Whether it's Resco, whether it's Dynamics, it could be Salesforce, it doesn't matter what it is. And I have to chuckle every time I hear that. Because the software works, it's proven.
Yeah.
It's how it's implemented, it's how it's planned,
right.
It's communication, it's all of that. And, I mean, how many times have you heard that for our lovely 2 listeners? How many times have you heard that you said, okay, Dynamics doesn't work, or this isn't working? I mean, what do you say to when you hear that? I mean, what's your comments?
Well, being someone from the technical background, the solution architect, the developer, I always, face the demons. Obviously, people coming to me complaining, for different reasons why they're not happy with the solution. I hate CRM is a common term I hear by the end staff all the time, and over the years, we've addressed those challenges. Initially, we thought, okay, back in the days of CRM4. It was a bit clunky and the interface changed, and Microsoft fixed that, addressed that problem, and they've highly reduced the amount of clicks required, and they've really now, to the extent with the UI and the refresh that they've done, that they've definitely taken over many of the other applications. So the aspect of usability and performance is now no longer an argument. And what we find is that organisations are still having challenges. They're still facing the same challenges that they had yesterday or the years before. And from what we've concluded is the fact that the digital transformation, I know a lot of people hate that word, but that requires such an organisational shift in order to be able to implement software in the correct fashion, to be able to keep up to date with organisations scaling out and keeping up to date with changes, that organisations need to have the right culture in place, have the right strategy in place, have the infrastructure in place to be able to meet the requirements, the demands of their users. Whether it's addressing performance issues, whether it's getting their changes released out in time, all these things have to be incorporated in the strategy rather than just doing vendor selection and going that way. They need to start thinking beyond that. And you're definitely right, Scott. I definitely agree with you on that point. That again and again, it's down to the cultural attitudes of the planning that organisation has on its journey.
Yep. I mean, a lot of times we hear too, we've done these projects. And every time we implement the project, it fails.
Yeah.
And why? Why does it always fail? Is it you don't have the stakeholder? Is it your project or program management? There's a reason why projects keep failing over and over again. And if you're not taking that look inward to say, okay, where is our organization failing? It doesn't matter if you implement any software; it's still going to fail. It doesn't matter. You could use the best partner in the world; it's going to fail. Now, if you use Sean, that's a different story. Maybe.
Great. Well,
bit of a bomb.
Yeah. Very cute. Well, I think we're at about almost 40 minutes. We could ramble on and meander through some more CRM topics, Dynamics topics, but I think we're going to wrap it. And there was some clapping in the next room, so we must have unveiled some kind of fine whiskey or bourbon or whatever. Is Woodford bourbon?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, and so I think we're going to adjourn into the bourbon tasting. So on behalf of my co-host Scott LaFonte, my guests Gus Gonzalez, Ross Chowdhury, and the irascible, I think that's a word, Ben Bowman. I might have made up a word, but that's fine. This has been at your service and quite, I think, a successful first try at a live broadcast. We'll put this up on the CRM audio feed, so if you're listening to it on the feed, I hope you guys had as much fun as we did, and we will see you next time.